Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, this is me, Atiq Ahmad. Today we are going to study the excretory function of nephron. We will divide this topic into two parts. First, we will study how the blood is supplied to the kidney through the renal artery, then how it is distributed throughout the kidney to various nephrons. There are over 1 million nephrons per kidney. So how the blood is distributed to various nephrons. And then we will study how the blood leaves the nephrons and then the kidney through the renal vein. So in the first part, we will study the entry of blood into the kidney and its distribution and its exit. In the second part, we will study the actual filtration process and urine formation process by the nephron. So we will start the first part. Blood enters into the kidney by the renal artery, which divides and redivides and branches into finer and finer arteries before entering into the glomerulus. These branch arteries are called cortical radial arteries or interlobular arteries, which projects into the cortex and give rise to efferent conducting inward arterioles. Now, diagrammatically, it is shown here. The blood enters into the kidney through this number 1, the renal artery. It enters inside and divides and further divides and form the interlobular arteries, or in other words, it is also known as the cortical radial arteries. The former name is interlobular arteries, while the recent name is the cortical radial arteries. So here it is shown as number 2 and number 4. These are basically the interlobular arteries or the cortical radial arteries. Interlobular arteries. This is number 4. So these are the large branches and they then divide further and further, and these are the fine branches. Now these fine branches, before entering into the glomerulus, it will form efferent arteriole. Efferent means moving inward or conducting inward. So it will further divide into glomerulus. So the sequence is that renal artery, then it is further divided into fine arteries which are known as interlobular arteries or cortical radial arteries, and then further division will occur and they will form the efferent arterioles, and various efferent arterioles will enter into nephrons. There are over 1 million nephrons, and whenever the efferent arterioles enter into the nephrons, so then they will further divide into capillaries, and those capillaries form a tuft which is known as glomerulus. So this is the actual supply of blood into the kidney. So these branch arteries are called cortical radial arteries or interlobular arteries, which project into the cortex and give rise to efferent conducting inward arterioles. The efferent arterioles supply blood to glomerular capillaries. Basically, the efferent arteriole itself divides to form fine capillaries, and their tuft of capillary is called glomerulus. So those capillaries are called glomerular capillaries. Now the filter blood leaves the glomerulus by an efferent conducting outward arteriole. Now we will explain it diagrammatically. Diagrammatically it is shown here. Now the arterioles from the renal artery, these are the efferent arteriole. This is one and there are several, so these are efferent arterioles which are moving inside the Bowman capsule, and this arteriole will basically form the tuft of capillaries which is known as glomerulus. So this network of capillaries inside the reddish one, the inside that is the glomerulus, and it is surrounded by a cup-shaped structure, the Bowman capsule. Now the blood will be supplied through this arteriole into these capillaries. The filtration will occur. The filter blood will leave this glomerulus through an arteriole which is known as efferent arterioles, moving outward arteriole. This outward arteriole, it will divide further to form capillaries which are known as peritubular capillaries. These peritubular capillaries are formed around the proximal tubule. This is the proximal tubule, this yellow one, and these red are the peritubular capillaries. They will also wrap around the distal tubule, and remember this whole region, this upper region, this is the cortex region. And they will also extend downwards, these red one, brownish one, peritubular capillaries. This specialized area of peritubular capillaries, this specialized area, this is known as vasa recta. It will move along the loop of Henle down into the medulla, and then it will move back into the cortex region. During this wrapping process, the reabsorption of water takes place, and ultimately the small venules are formed, and those small veins combine together to form the renal vein, which move out of the kidney and then forming the inferior vena cava. That inferior vena cava carry the blood to the heart. So this is the whole structure. We have described all these points. We will go through. Efferent arteriole arise from the glomerulus, give rise to the network of capillaries called the peritubular, surrounding the tubule capillaries around the proximal distal tubules. Specialized part of the peritubular capillaries called vasa recta course into the medulla along with the loop of Henle and then back toward the cortex. We have diagrammatically shown it here. This is the arteriole, this is the efferent arteriole. It will divide and redivide and will form peritubular capillaries. These peritubular capillaries will wrap around the proximal tubule, the distal tubule. Then they will move down and then they will move up again. This specialized area which is moving downward and upward, this is known as vasa recta. And here the reabsorption of water takes place from this yellow loop of Henle into this vasa recta specialized area of the peritubular capillaries. The peritubular capillaries drain into the interlobular veins, then they will form the interlobular veins which drain into the renal vein. The renal vein exits the kidney and connects to the inferior vena cava. Now we will look here. These blue one, these are basically the interlobular veins. These here, these are shown here, interlobular vein number 5. So these are here. These will combine together to form the renal vein, this broad vein. It will enter into the inferior vena cava and the inferior vena cava will move towards the heart. Now we will move towards the teaching points. Kidney function is excretory as well as osmoregulatory organ, and both of these functions are performed by the nephrons. Now, what is the excretory function of the kidney and what is the osmoregulatory function of the kidney? The excretory function of the kidney, which is performed by the nephron, that is the filtration of blood and formation of urine, and that urine is then excreted out of the body. So this is the function of kidney, the excretory function. As a osmoregulatory organ, the kidney will form large amount of urine, dilute urine during the state of flooding. Whenever there is large availability of water inside the body, so the extra water will be removed from the body through the kidneys, through the nephrons, and more water will be released in the urine, while the normal water content will be retained within the body. The extra water will be removed. While whenever there is dehydration, means the body has less amount of water, so in that case the kidney will form concentrated urine, less water will be released inside the urine and more water will be retained within the body. So this is the osmoregulatory function of the kidney, that during this water stress condition the kidney retain less water and excrete more water, while during the dehydration process, whenever there is less supply of water, so the kidney will retain more water and will excrete less water in the urine. The formation of urine involves ultrafiltration, selective reabsorption, and tubular secretion. This is the second part we will study in the next lecture, that how the actual filtration of blood occurs by the nephron and how the urine is formed. So see you next time with new lecture inshallah. Take care. Allah Hafiz.